Hello YouTube, this is Johnny again with this week's Wednesday Wisdom. I've got a lot to say on this subject, so let's just dive right in. So last week I shared some thoughts on self-help, staying inspired, and self-discipline. This week I want to talk a bit about the aspects of studying philosophy that can be useful in that vein. A lot of the self-help and psychology stuff that you see is really just watered down philosophy, and it has roots in various older schools of thought, such as Stoicism, Epicureanism, Christian philosophy, paganism, Cynicism, Aristotelianism, ism, etc., etc. So what I'd like to do for the next several weeks, or maybe several months, depends, is to take some ideas from each of these schools and present them in a way that can be easily understood without watering down the ideas or their context too much. Like a good whiskey, too much water spoils the taste, when an ice cube or two, or nothing, will do quite well enough. This particular episode can serve as something of a metaphilosophical outline for this channel and for the next bunch of episodes that I'll be doing. Some books and thinkers I'd like to discuss on the subject of virtue, vice, and the pursuit of the good life are Marcus Aurelius, Epicurus, Epictetus, Aristotle, Plato, Hume, Bertrand Russell, and many, many others. If you have a book suggestion or suggestions about people I should look into for this project, please let me know in the comments, and I'll try to do that and maybe end up making a video about it. So first, what is philosophy? This is interesting because what exactly is and is not philosophy is, of course, a deeply philosophical question. If you go to Google Dictionary, you get something like philosophy, noun. The study of the fundamental nature of knowledge, reality, and existence, especially when considered as an academic discipline. Another meaning is a particular system of philosophical thought. Plural is philosophies. Then you also have another meaning, the study of the theoretical basis of a particular branch of knowledge or experience, like the philosophy of science, for example. So some synonyms for this are thinking, thought, reasoning, also a theory or attitude held by a person or organization that acts as a guiding principle for behavior. This one's really important since that's what I'd like to mostly be focusing on going forward in these videos. Don't expect anything and you won't be disappointed. That's my philosophy. So some synonyms for that are beliefs, credo, convictions, ideology, ideas, thinking again, notions, theories, doctrine, tenets, principles, views, school of thought, right? As you can see, there are quite a few different ways of thinking about what and when someone is doing philosophy. But for now, I'd like everyone listening to keep an open mind about that and to interpret my remarks in light of these definitions above and before, and to keep things somewhat broad for now. Here's a somewhat longish list of reasons why I think philosophy is valuable to us, even in this modern age of science and instant information and so forth. Maybe even it's more important, actually. This is, in a way, a personal one. Religion is still a powerful force in the world, and as a person who's not religious, why should they have all the fun? Besides that, there is a tendency to perceive non-believers as dangerous or amoral, and I don't think that that's got to be true at all. Another reason, values don't necessarily come right out from the world. We have to figure out what we value, why we ought to value it, and science doesn't really do that for us. Only introspection about the nature of truth and the good can, since that helps define what science is anyway, for example. It helps us with critical thinking, and in fact, the very notion of thinking at all implies certain values, which I'll be getting into later in another video, actually. Our technological grasp has definitely exceeded our moral grasp. We constantly live on the brink of nuclear and economic, social, and environmental destruction, even though there's some evidence to believe that the world is improving. But I think we can ask by what standard that's true. That's philosophy, right? In many ways, this provides us with the ability. It also provides us with the ability to conceptualize things more sharply and vividly, and appreciate things that we otherwise wouldn't, such as the aesthetic beauty of a well-reasoned argument, even one that we might end up disagreeing with. This is somewhat similar to how a lot of people don't really get math, because I think it's not really taught to us in the same inspiring way that a lot of other disciplines are. It's taught in a very boring, bland kind of way. But as people become more acquainted with the aesthetic beauty of various subjects like math or pure logic, they seem to also want to be, you end up wanting to be more acquainted with the ins and outs of the subject, because you can enjoy it on an aesthetic, visceral level. Students that have been taught philosophy have shown to do better on other subjects that require critical thinking, such as math, for example. It suggests that this ability carries over to other subjects. Really, everyone does philosophy all the time without really knowing that that's what they're doing. As I said in the previous video, it's not really a choice about whether or not you do it. It's about whether you try to take pride in yourself and help others by doing it well. I consider this notion about philosophy to be axiomatic, by the way. I mean, I think to disagree with it is actually to agree with it. There was like a tweet or something that I read a while back that I can't remember who said it, but it went something like, all we need is science. And then, why is that? Well, because, and you're doing philosophy. I think that sums up that really well. Another reason is philosophy is fun. It may not always be fun, it may not be fun for everyone, but certainly getting those aha moments is a great and exhilarating experience, particularly in a subject that kind of underlies all of our other views about things, including how we approach learning itself. Philosophy can also help us understand where the people around us are coming from. I think studying philosophy can teach us a kind of intellectual empathy, which can be really important in so many ways for dealing with your colleagues, your significant others, bosses, coworkers, friends, family, etc. Interpreting political figures and thought leaders, right? Anyway, enough about all these other reasons for studying philosophy. The main reason is because in your life, you will have to make decisions that will impact yourself, your community, your country, and the world in at least some tiny ways. And if we want to build a better world, since action has at least some basis in thought, you have to build a better self, right? That's the idea I'm coming at here. It makes sense that we ought to do our very best about deciding what to pursue and how to pursue it. And that includes building a sensible, rational worldview, in my opinion. And in fact, I view it as something of a commandment: be reasonable or be nothing. Or as the motto of my channel goes, "An veritas an nihil," which is Latin for the truth or nothing. Now, sadly, a lot of philosophers and people in the peanut gallery of philosophy don't think that that's what it's for, or that it's even feasible. I think that's actually one of the reasons why philosophy gets a bad rap from people, because so many philosophers want us to just throw out the very best reasons why we should do philosophy in the first place, which I think strikes a lot of generally sensible people as crazy. I do think that it's worth considering all different kinds of ways that we could be wrong and practicing seeing things from strange perspectives at times. So my point is not to put forth some kind of rigid dogma as though it was the same thing as being reasonable, just by calling it that or whatever, because that really requires seeing things from other perspectives and thinking deeply about their implications for our own. Because you could always be wrong about something, right? I want to make it clear, though, is that some perspectives do in fact make more sense than others. And philosophy is the subject that's supposed to be oriented to figuring that out, oriented to that end. Otherwise, it becomes a kind of perverse waste of time for yourself and for everyone else. So, anyway, that's all I've got. Stay philosophical and keep your wits about you. Peace.